Hello everyone, welcome back to the course Introduction to Infrastructure Asset Management. This course is offered under MOOCs, an initiative of Government of India. In the last week, we continued our discussion on decision framework for infrastructure asset maintenance, where the focus was on decision making aspects. Here, we discussed different considerations for economic decision making, multi-criteria decision making, and then multi-objective optimization. We saw that decision making in this context mainly involves budget programming, where we are selecting an appropriate method for identifying candidate projects. The goal is to identify all the relevant projects which require maintenance and rehabilitation. We have discussed different methods to do this. First one was subjective experience, then decision metrics, decision trees, AHP, and optimization. In all these methods, we saw that the decision maker needs to take a decision based on the underlying agency goals, and he or she also needs to keep in mind the available budget. In this particular week, we will dive deeper into the aspect of different goals. What are the different considerations under which a decision maker takes a decision? Coming back to this generic IM process, this week will be focused on different aspects of policies and goals. We will try to understand the different considerations under which infrastructure asset management decision making takes place. This is the first lecture in this week where we will discuss considerations in infrastructure management decision making. My name is Chirag Kothari and I am a faculty in the Department of Civil Engineering. Now, let us discuss what are the different goals under infrastructure development and management. What do we really want to achieve? These goals can be broadly summarized into three aspects. The first aspect is performance. Performance in the context of infrastructure asset management deals with how effectively an asset meets its defined service or operational standards throughout its life cycle. Performance includes several aspects. It could include the current asset condition. It could include aspects of reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety. Here, what I am trying to say is that defined service or operational standards can be defined in several manners. It could be around safety, it could be around maintainability, it could be around reliability, and so on. For now, let us understand that performance can be expressed in several manners. In the next lecture, we will discuss in detail what is reliability, what is availability, and so on. Now, when it comes to performance management, the goal basically is as follows. Performance management and infrastructure asset management will involve first setting up measurable performance targets. It could be around condition, safety, capacity, etc. Then we try to monitor and evaluate assets against these targets using suitable indicators. Then we move to predicting potential failures or service issues. And finally, we make an informed decision on interventions like maintenance, repair, or replacement to sustain or improve the asset's performance over time. This is done by balancing cost, risk, and the service quality. So I hope the idea of performance is clear. The next key aspect which needs to be emphasized is sustainability. In addition to performance, the decision makers also keep in mind the sustainability aspects. Let us discuss what is sustainability in the context of infrastructure asset management. Sustainability in infrastructure asset management refers to managing and maintaining infrastructure assets in a way that meets current service requirements while ensuring minimum negative environmental impact and enhanced social benefits. So, Unlike performance, the goal within sustainability is to ensure that infrastructure meets its performance requirement, but at the same time ensures minimum negative environmental impact, and also it ensures enhanced social benefits. Sustainability again has several aspects. It is commonly understood with the help of this approach, where it includes economics, environment, and equity. We will discuss each of these in detail in the next lecture. Again, similar to performance management, sustainability management involves following. First, the goal is to optimize infrastructure's asset performance and its value while protecting environment and ecosystems and ensuring social benefits such as safety, equity, and community well-being. Here, again we set up some measures of sustainability. It could be on the lines of carbon footprint, GHG emissions, air quality, water quality, social well-being, and so on. Again, we move towards monitoring and evaluation against these targets. And based on that, we make informed interventions such as use of environment-friendly materials or technologies to achieve sustainability goals. Now, in addition to performance and sustainability, the third aspect which is important is resilience. Let us briefly discuss what is resilience. Resilience in the context of infrastructure asset management, the United Nations defines resilience as the capacity of a system, community at risk to absorb, adopt, change, and withstand the results of hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including through conservation and the reconstruction of its structures and core functions through risk management. Let us see what are the key words in this definition. We are talking about the capacity of a system or community at risk, its capacity to absorb, adopt, change, and withstand the hazard. It needs to do so in a timely and efficient manner. This could be through conservation and the reconstruction of its structures. Again, similar to performance and sustainability, resilience has several aspects. It includes robustness, redundancy, rapidity, and resourcefulness. These are different dimensions of resilience. We will talk about these in detail in the subsequent lectures. Similar to performance and sustainability management, resilience management also involves the following. We start with setting measurable resilient targets such that the infrastructure withstands climate change and extreme weather. These targets could be along different dimensions of resourcefulness, rapidity, and so on. We can have number of alternatives, adaptive capacity, absorptive capacity, etc. as different targets. We will talk about each one of them in detail at a later stage. Again, we monitor and evaluate these targets, and finally, we make informed and dynamic interventions. Please note the word dynamic here. The idea is that hazards and climate change can impact infrastructure at different stages. We need to adopt a dynamic method to do asset maintenance in such a way that the impact of these hazards is reduced. So, let us quickly summarize. So, these are the three key pillars or three key components which a decision maker needs to take care of: performance, sustainability, and resilience. I hope all of you have understood that these are just broader terms. There are several indicators and components within each one of them. A decision maker, when taking decisions for infrastructure asset management, needs to focus on all these three dimensions. They need to consider performance, sustainability, and resilience. However, decision makers are required to make choices within strict budgetary limitations, and that is where it becomes difficult to incorporate all these aspects. Moreover, many of these objectives often overlap and also sometimes conflict with each other. For example, to have a durable material which is resilient might be costly, and it might impact the overall network performance. Alternatively, to meet sustainability goals, you might want to reduce asset maintenance activities, but it will have a negative impact on the performance. Thus, a lot of these alternatives are either overlapping or sometimes conflicting with each other. Thus, decision makers need to carefully balance competing and interconnected priorities to achieve the best possible outcome within the available budget. Please remember that the infrastructure asset maintenance basically deals with selecting the right maintenance techniques. Each of these maintenance techniques will have an impact on the overall performance, overall sustainability, and overall resilience. The decision maker can only make a decision around what project to do, at what time, and where should they do it. They cannot really choose just one aspect over another. They need to consider all the three aspects of performance, sustainability, and resilience. In the subsequent lecture, when we discuss these dimensions in detail, the complexity involved in decision making will be clear. With this, I end this lecture here. The idea of this lecture was to provide a brief introduction to different goals of infrastructure asset maintenance. The concept of performance, sustainability, and resilience was briefly discussed. Here are some of the references and materials for future reading. Thank you.